YouTube, what is going on? Hello, welcome in to my channel. My name is Jake Asman, and this is the Jake Asman Show for a Thursday, August 19th, 2021. We will talk Jets Packers. They had their first of two joint practices yesterday. A lot of good quotes afterwards from Zach Wilson, from Robert Saleh. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, as I always do at the start of every video, I encourage you, if you don't already, to please subscribe down below. Yesterday, I said, hey, please help me get over 6,000 subs. Well, we hit that mark. So thanks to everyone who has watched the show from day one, and thanks to everyone who continues to support the channel each and every day throughout. It means a lot. And if you want to engage with this video, feel free to comment your thoughts down below, your big takeaways from Jets Packers first joint practice, and also comment, like, whatever. It helps grow the page. So thanks for engaging here on the show. Also, you could find me on Twitter at Jake Asman and Instagram at Jake Asman. Plenty to talk about. I do want to say this. If you have a question at the end, feel free to write that in. If you're watching this live, I'll try and answer a bunch of them towards the end of the show. We're going to start, though, by talking about Zach Wilson, because I thought yesterday was an awesome day one for Zach Wilson. You could look up his practice stats. You could see what he did. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not really concerned about that. There were some good throws. There were some throws that I'm sure he'd want back. That's what practice is ultimately for. There were a couple of drops yesterday by Jet receivers. I mean, technically, Wilson was 12 of 23, according to Connor Hughes, but his receivers dropped 2 easy passes. He was sacked 7 times. It's going to happen. Seems like Zach Wilson is still figuring out how to deal with an NFL pocket, how to deal with different types of blitzes that he's going to face. That's what practice is for. And it's a good thing that the Jets get the chance to go up against a really good team in the Green Bay Packers, right? I mean, it's a good thing that the Jets in practice get to face a team that's won 13 games the last 2 years. It's a nice barometer to see, where the Jets are at. Carl Lawson yesterday was dominant, according to all the reports from the first joint practice. So it's not just the Jets he's doing it against. You can do it against the Packers. That's saying something. So we'll get more to some of the other takeaways afterwards. But we start with Zach Wilson because why wouldn't you? Zach Wilson yesterday said that he got the chance to ask Aaron Rodgers questions, said that he got the chance to pick Aaron Rodgers' brain. He said, quote, "He was always the game that I wanted to watch on Sundays. I always made sure I was watching his full games, what he was doing. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's a smart dude. He knows what's going on out there. It's cool to ask him about footwork, what's going on in the field, what's he seeing. If I could spend more time with him and just keep asking questions, I would. The biggest thing I picked up is just how calm and collected he is. He's kind of just out there, almost like he's just messing around, playing backyard football. He's having a good time, and he makes it work." Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Zach Wilson's going to be Aaron Rodgers. But I would tell you this. The player that Wilson was comped the most to was Aaron Rodgers. The way they both play is very similar. And it doesn't mean Zach Wilson's going to have a Hall of Fame career. I think every Jet fan listening hopes that's the case. But I love the fact that early on in Wilson's career, he does get a chance to talk to Aaron Rodgers, interact with him. I mean, those pictures that they took yesterday, if Rodgers goes on, to win another championship, and obviously no matter what happens, he's going to the Hall, and Wilson ends up being a really good quarterback, we'll look back in history and be like, remember when those two guys crossed over towards the end of Rodgers' career and the beginning of Wilson's career? So it's a cool moment like that. So it's good that Zach gets a chance to watch Aaron Rodgers up close because, yeah, they do play similarly, right? Wilson is impromptu on the run, outside the pocket, can make all these different throws from a variety of different arm angles. I mean, Wilson's arm is incredible. Chris Sims says he's the best thrower of the football out of this past year's draft class. I tend to agree. That doesn't mean Wilson will be better than Fields or Lawrence or Mac Jones or Trey Lance. Nobody at the end of the day truly knows that. But I think the early signs with Zach Wilson, you could say this, everything that was advertised of him as a player coming out of BYU, so far so good. We've seen, the physical upside. Like if you were questioning why the Jets would take a player at a BYU second overall over, a guy like Justin Fields who did it at a, big time school at Ohio State, it's because they think Wilson has the physical gifts that translate to the NFL. And you're starting to see that early on in some of these practices. So I think overall, we're not going to know until the games start, and we're not going to know probably until a couple of years into Wilson's career. But the early signs are positive, I would say, so far for Zach Wilson. So overall, I just like the direction the Jets are heading in. I like the fact that they're having joint practices in the first place. I think you get so much more out of these joint practices than you do just the same old same at practice every day going up against the same players. And I like the fact that the Jets get to travel as a team. Like, team bonding in football is so important. Team chemistry matters. So the fact that the Jets get to get up and actually go to Green Bay for the week and, be on the road and get that experience early on where there's less distractions and whatnot, I think that stuff is awesome. So I'm all about what the Jets have done so far, and I think it's really cool that you're talking about a rookie quarterback that gets a chance to go up against a Packers team that's really good, and they're not going to be playing most of their key starters on Saturday. So yesterday and then later today at practice, those are going to be the first real action Wilson will face against an elite defense. The Giants on Saturday didn't play most of their key defensive players, and we know the Jets don't exactly have the best corners, right? So Wilson is getting different looks, facing a guy like Jair Alexander. I think that stuff is good. Eric Stokes apparently had a blitz yesterday, and he got in there for a, quote, sack as on Zach Wilson. No such thing, of course, as a real sack, but you get the point. So this is all good stuff. I like hearing from Zach Wilson talking about football. I just think he gets it. I think he's got the right mentality to be able to play quarterback in New York, which we all know is not easy at all. So that's one takeaway from the offense. Defensively, look, it seems like the Jets corners held up yesterday. It seems like they played pretty well, made some plays. You're going to get a lot of reps. You're going to get a lot of experience. There's going to be good plays. There's going to be bad plays. But overall, I think if you're a Jet fan, day one was encouraging. Day one was encouraging for the Jets. And, ultimately, for Zach Wilson, I can't even imagine how cool it must be to, meet his boy idol, right? He says he fanboys over Aaron Rodgers. So we shall see. But that's the angle as far as the actual practice. I think what you're looking to see on Saturday. We talked about that briefly yesterday. You want to see this team probably to execute one on special teams. Nobody get hurt. It's tough to really evaluate when you're talking about facing backups, but you want to see Wilson continue to build upon what was a strong performance against the Giants, specifically the throws on third down. I think that's where, we're going to find out, just how good this quarterback is early, right? I mean, anyone could be good on first or second down when you're following the script of the offense, but, when the pocket breaks, third and long, you got to make a play. You got to improvise. That's what Aaron Rodgers does better than maybe any other quarterback in the league or, besides maybe Patrick Mahomes. And that's what you hope, Zach Wilson could obviously do. So overall, good first practice for Wilson. A lot to like. Love that he gets the chance to talk to Aaron Rodgers. All right. So that's my main point on the Wilson aspect of the practice yesterday. I said we got about 30 people in. Let's open it up. Any questions about the Jets, NFL, throw them in. We'll take a couple here as we wrap up the video this morning. Frosty Taco goes in. First time catching you live. All right. Well, thank you, Frosty Taco. Animal Science, congrats. Great show. I'm sure you'll keep growing. Thank you very much, Animal Science TV. Jason Picker, our guy Jason in Jerusalem, congrats on 6K. Yep. Thanks to everyone who subscribed. Appreciate it. Glad that we're getting over 6K on the YouTube page. Raw Power writes in, I love how Wilson is always talking about footwork. I agree. I think footwork is a very underrated aspect of being a really good quarterback. The thing that you can knock Sam Darnold for is that I don't know, and part of it's because Sam never got great coaching at USC and with the Jets, oh, by the way, but Sam's footwork was all over the place, and that's why sometimes easy throws would sail, and he would not be as accurate as he needed to be on the run. So, yes, I think Wilson talking about footwork is a positive. There's no doubt about that. Animal Science writes in, how did you feel when the Jets lost the first pick to the Jaguars at the last moment? I won't lie. I mean, I was upset, not because it was like, oh, Trevor Lawrence is going to be great, but you want to at least just have the first pick so you could have the conversation and not have to worry about potentially missing out on the all-time great player. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's the worst thing ever that they lost out on the first pick, but I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was pissed off. I was not rooting for the Jets at the end of last year. Once it was abundantly obvious they were done as a football team, basically when they started 0-4, I mean, I was at a point where, I was hoping they could string together some wins after that because I liked Sam Darnold and I was hoping he'd figure it out and play well. But when it became so obvious that this team was a dumpster fire with Adam Gase, yeah, I'm not afraid to admit it. I was absolutely rooting against the Jets. I celebrated the Raiders win at the buzzer when, Greg Williams sent the Kachunga blitz and left Lamar Jackson alone in single coverage. I celebrated that win like the Jets won because I wanted Gase gone. I wanted everyone gone besides, Joe Douglas, obviously. And, I wanted a fresh slate. So I wasn't thrilled, but, at the end of the day, I've come around and I think, Zach Wilson's going to be good. And oh, by the way, everyone who keeps writing in, or what about Justin Fields, or what about this and that? There's no rule that says both Zach Wilson and Justin Fields can't be good quarterbacks. Like, in fact, I'll tell you, I think both guys are going to be good. There's no rule that says they both can't be outstanding quarterbacks. Usually just a rule of thumb, 5 guys went in the first round, right? Lawrence, Wilson, Lance, Fields, and Jones. 2 of them probably aren't going to be very good. That's just usually how it goes. If you go back to like the year 2000 and loosely evaluate, all right, did this guy pan out or was this guy a bust? It's usually about 50% of a bust rate. That's just how it goes. Remember Josh Rosen, 2018? He comes out with Sam and Josh Allen and Baker. Josh Rosen was thought to have had the highest floor. Like, maybe he doesn't have the highest upside, but he'll be a solid quarterback. There's no way he could bust. Josh Rosen's been on like 4 different teams. He just got waived off the 49ers practice squad. So you just don't know ultimately with some of these quarterbacks, man. It's hard. It's hard. You got to trust that the Jets have the right system in place for Zach. I think they do. They have good players around him. They've improved the offensive line. Like, the biggest thing I've always said with Zach Wilson has been this. If he doesn't end up being good, it's going to be because he's just not good. It's not going to be because the Jets failed to find out if he's any good because they didn't put players around him. That to me is what frustrated me the most with Sam. I don't know if Sam's going to end up being a good quarterback or not. I think he's shown potential at times that he can be an outstanding quarterback, but he hasn't put it together yet in 3 years, right? We all understand that. But see, he had nothing around him. He had no help. He had Adam Gase and Todd Bowles as his 2 coaches. He had Jeremy Bates and Darryl Loggins as his offensive coordinator. He had a bad O-line, bad receivers. Like maybe Sam will end up just being a bad quarterback. But we didn't know after 3 years. After 3 years with Zach Wilson, we're going to know, good or bad, what he is. So ultimately, that's kind of where I'm at, right? I just feel like the right infrastructure is in place finally with the Jets. Frosty Taco writes in, Carl Lawson getting 10-plus sacks. Yes, if there's a prop bet for Carl Lawson to go over whatever a sack total is, I'm betting the over on it. He's the best edge rusher the New York Jets have had since prime John Abraham. He is that good. He is a beast. He's the perfect athletic fit for the 4-3 defense that the Jets are running. Saleh knows how good he is. They're going to let him just feast off the edge. I hope he stays healthy because him and Quinnen up front with Sheldon Rankins and Franklin Myers and Bryce Huff, the Jets have a versatile defensive line, and I cannot wait for the season to start to see what these guys can do. Sam Darnold made a joke yesterday, by the way, when someone in Carolina, I guess, asked him, how important the preseason is, just to get tackled for the first time because you don't get tackled in practice. And Sam, made a funny comment. I thought, he goes, well, I have some experience, getting sacked a lot, and obviously referencing, his time with the Jets. Well, he might be getting sacked a lot week 1 because I think the Carolina offensive line is not great, and I think the Jets defensive line should have their way and feast on Sam Darnold week 1. At least that's the hope from every Jet fan. Animal Science goes, Adam Gase, crazy eyes. It was all downhill from day 1. The thing with Gase that's remarkable is no Jet fan wanted them to hire him, and then the press conference happened. Like, I'm not going to sit there and tell you guys that if the press conference wasn't a disaster like it was with Gase in his eyes, that every Jet fan would have been, on board with Adam Gase. But if the press conference was just normal, maybe there would have been more of a grace period with Gase. But because nobody wanted him because he was with the Dolphins and we watched him get fired there, then they hire him, and the press conference is a debacle. Gase never had a chance. He never had a chance with his fan base. Now, if they started better than 1-7 year 1, maybe he could have turned turned things around and the fan base would have been a little more supportive. But you hire the guy nobody wanted, and then the press conference is an abject just disaster. You lost the room right there. You were never going to get the fan support for Adam Gase. And then, they started 1-7, so that's all you need to know. Do you think we will keep 4 quarterbacks and running backs? If not, who's on the hot seat? No, they're not going to keep 4 quarterbacks. I think Josh Johnson's the guy that they end up waiving. They brought him in. That was just a camp arm, so I think he's gone. The running back battle is fascinating because the New York Jets obviously have a bunch of guys in that running back room that all could argue they deserve some playing time. It seems like LaMichael Pirine has had a really good camp based on all the people that have watched practice. I'd be shocked if he doesn't make the team. Tevin Coleman's looked good, plus he knows the system. I'd be shocked if he doesn't make the team. Obviously, Michael Carter's making the team. You just drafted him. Ty Johnson played pretty well last year, so I don't know if you want to cut him. So it will be interesting to see kind of what the Jets do with that running back room, because there's obviously, there's obviously some depth in that room. And if you know anything about how the 49ers have used their offense in the past, they don't really have a number one, right? They have a running back by committee. So I think all those guys are going to have a role, and whoever is maybe the hot hand early on in some of these games will see the most carries. But I am very excited about just the way the Jets will utilize the running back room. Just utilize those guys as, pass catchers, third down, screen game. There's ways to involve the running back in a West Coast offense, and that's obviously what the Jets are going to be doing. Animal science. It's nice to not have the pressure of the number one pick. You didn't have to trade up like the silly Bears did for Trubisky. It's less pressure for Wilson. There's less pressure for Wilson because, he's not Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence plays in Jacksonville in front of 7 fans. Zach Wilson's playing for the New York Jets in the biggest media market in the world. And look, I mean, Jet fans, I love you guys, but we're the most passionate and sometimes irrational fan base you can have in the NFL at times. So there's going to be pressure on Zach Wilson. There always is. But yeah, I mean, look, I guess because he's not the number one pick, if he ends up not being as good as Trevor Lawrence, you could say, well, he's not supposed to. But at the end of the day, Zach Wilson has pressure on him because there comes a pressure when you play, quarterback for the New York Jets. That's just always how it goes. Your thoughts on the Packers D-line versus the Jets O-line? Yeah, that's a great matchup to watch. The Packers obviously have an impressive front. I think we're going to get a chance to see, Mekhi Becton play again this weekend. I don't know if he's going to play against any of the real Packers starters. So, the Jets offensive line, it looks like Elijah Vera Tucker is getting pretty close to coming back to practice, which is a nice sign. He was still kind of off to the side, I read yesterday, but at least he had pads on for the first time. So it looks like he's set to come back from his injury. So that's certainly a matchup to watch because, as we all know, the Jets have not had a good offensive line in years. It seems like they finally have done what needs to be done with the O-line with, Morgan Moses and Elijah Vera Tucker and obviously a big Mekhi Becton on the left side. But look, that Packers defensive front is very, very good. They obviously have Sedarius Smith. They obviously have Preston Smith, who's the Smith brothers both rush the quarterback. Kenny Clark's good up the middle. Dean Lowry's a nice player on their defensive end. They got a good team. I mean, this is a Packers defense that obviously is very talented. So yeah, that's a fun matchup to watch over the next couple of days. So we shall see. Jason writes in, thoughts about the Alex Lewis situation. I don't know much about it, to be honest. It sounds like there was something going on, with his personal life, and he ultimately retired. I don't know how much more I can really add to it. I don't know if Alex Lewis was even going to have a very big role on this team, truth be told. So we will see. I mean, it's not like Alex Lewis was this great player for this team a year ago. So they'll try and make up for it. How are they going to replace him? Well, it's funny. I'm actually wearing the T-shirt right now of Dan Feeney chugging the beer at the Islanders game. So maybe Dan Feeney will get the opportunity to play a lot more on this offensive line. We shall see. I mean, if you look at the starting O-line right now, you have obviously Mekhi, AVT, Connor McGovern, GVT or GVR, so Greg Van Roten, and then George Fant. Or actually, you know what? It would be Morgan Moses, not George Fant. So, yeah, ideally, you would like to have, a Pro Bowl at every offensive line position, but the Jets just had so many holes on this team. It's going to take more than one off season to clean it up. So we shall see. Let's see. Raw Power. I'm pumped for Elijah Moore. Got his jersey from Parts Unknown. That's right. There you go. Parts Unknown. I'm still waiting for my Elijah Moore jersey to come in, but I do have my Zach Wilson jersey right here from Parts Unknown. So I'm pumped to wear that once the season starts. And then you write in, but think Davis will be the top receiver in 2021. Look, Corey Davis should probably be the Jets' quote top receiver in 2021 from a yardage standpoint, but that doesn't mean Elijah Moore won't lead the Jets in catches or won't lead the Jets in big plays. I think both guys are going to be, really good in this offense. And honestly, underrated aspect about Corey Davis's game, he is phenomenal at blocking. Phenomenal. He is, just really good as a run blocker, and I think that will be really important in this Jets offense. PJ Burkett writes in, thoughts on Mims? My thoughts are this. He's making the team. Anyone that's worried about Denzel Mims' roster spot, I think that's way too premature. If you watched one Jets drive, it was great to see, how Saleh and LaFleur were so hyped up after Mims had that great catch against the Giants that he, turned upfield for, 25 plus yards, whatever it was. I made a bunch of dudes miss in the Giants secondary. Mims to me is a good player. I like his physical traits. The issue with Mims is this. A year ago, he didn't have a preseason. Nobody did. He also got hurt in training camp. So he wasn't able to get the reps he needed to get to be a successful NFL wide receiver right out of the gate. Then when he started to get going a little bit last year, made some big plays, he got hurt again. He followed that up with this offseason, and he dealt with a food poisoning bout that cost him to lose 20 pounds, and he wasn't right. So he's still kind of working himself back. If you looked at Denzel Mims at Baylor runs a very simplistic offense. Like there was not a lot of complex routes for Denzel Mims to try and run in that scheme. Like it was very simplistic. So the Jets drafted Mims based on his physical talent. That's why he was a second-round pick. Denzel Mims is a first-round pick if he plays in a different offense in college where he has to do more complex route running. Like the Jets are trying to teach Denzel Mims how to run more complex routes in the NFL. What makes Elijah Moore so great is if you look at the Ole Miss offense, they have him do everything. So Elijah Moore comes in and he's already a polished route runner. They're still working through that with Denzel Mims. But I'm banking on the guy's talent because this is where coaching matters. If you have good coaches, you get the most out of your talent. Denzel Mims is talented. It's on the Jets to figure out how to utilize him and get the most out of him. There's no doubt. Raw power. Who gets cut on the Jets defensive line? It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if there's one obvious one right now. I need to see more of the preseason going forward. I got to see what the Jets actually look like when they play some more of their starters, going forward here. So we shall see. I mean, I like the depth of the Jets defensive line though. So it's certainly a good problem to have. Animal science. How sick of you are the, what's the question? How sick am I of the Patriots dominance / happy the dynasty could be done? I despise the Patriots with every fiber in my body. So yes, here's how I looked at the Brady thing and him leaving, by the way. And I've talked about this on the radio show a lot. Root for Tom Brady. You might think I'm crazy, but I have no ill will at all with Tom Brady. I can't stand the Patriots. Tom Brady to me, the greatest quarterback of all time, but whatever. He could do his thing down in Tampa. The reason why I was happy that Brady won the Super Bowl with the Bucs is because now the Patriot fan has to share Tom Brady with the Buccaneer fan. They got to share him because when you look at the career of Tom Brady now, it's, yes, 7-time Super Bowl champion, 6 with the Patriots. And then, he leaves at age 43 in a pandemic season in a new offense, new coach, new team, and he wins the Super Bowl, and he's the Super Bowl MVP. You could argue that was Brady's greatest accomplishment last year. You cannot talk about the career of Tom Brady now without mentioning he finished his career with the Bucs and won the freaking Super Bowl. So the Patriot fan doesn't get to own Tom Brady anymore. His number will be retired in Tampa, just like it will be in New England, even if Brady only plays 2 seasons there, if he retires after this year. So the fact that New England has to just sit there and watch Tom win another Super Bowl and know that they couldn't work it out. They weren't willing to just, brush the ego aside between Belichick and Brady and figure out a way just to make them happy and keep them. Like, imagine Derek Jeter going somewhere else instead of finishing his career with the Yankees. You don't let that happen. So the fact that the Patriots let him go, and by Patriots, Bill Belichick let him go over ego rather than just recognizing Tom's the best quarterback of all time, we need to figure out to keep him happy. They let him go, and he made him pay for it. So I was happy Brady won because now the Patriot fan has to share Tom Brady with another fan base. And if I was a Pats fan, that would make me sick. That would make me sick. I would never be able to forget Bill Belichick as great as he is. And I see Jason goes, come on, Jake. That's like saying Peyton's a Bronco. Yeah, he won in Denver, but he always will be known as a Colt. I disagree with that, Jason. Peyton Manning lives in Denver in the offseason. He works for the Broncos organization in some capacity. His Hall of Fame announcement when he was being told he was going into the Hall of Fame was in Denver. Peyton Manning is now associated with 2 teams, right? Peyton Manning played 4 years with Denver or 5 years with Denver, and he went to the playoffs every year and went to 2 Super Bowls. Peyton Manning's career, he's also now considered a Bronco because he won a championship there. So, yes, obviously he's known for being a Colt far longer than a Bronco, but you don't think Denver fans feel like they own a part of the career now of Peyton Manning? So that's why I love the Brady thing. I mean, my goodness, it's the Buck fan can now take ownership over the career of Tom Brady. Jack writes in, how do you feel about a DJ Henderson trade, and would it be good or bad for our young corners? I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. I think the Jets have made it very clear through their actions that they like the group that they have, and they're going to let those guys play it out. I don't think the Jets want to trade draft capital for anything. I think they want to keep their picks. And, based on some of the reports from camp, and obviously, training camp, you got to put it in perspective. It seems like Bryce Hall and Bless Austin have played well. It seems like you're getting some production from Jason Pinnock and Isaiah Dunn, the undrafted free agent they brought in out of, I believe, Oregon State. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Jets have, the Seattle Seahawks secondary from a couple of years ago, the Legion of Boom. But it does seem like the Jets have confidence in their corners because they think they're going to be better coached. They trust the front seven will get home and get some pressure up front to make it easier on the back end. I think the Jets are going to ride it out with the corner group that they already have. So, yes, would I have liked a veteran to come in? Sure. But I'm going to defer to Robert Saleh on this. If the Jets think they could coach up the guys they have internally, then I'm going to take them at face value. And obviously time will tell how that one plays out. Michael writes in, fill in the blank. The one person who holds the keys to the Jets' success it's Zach Wilson. Well, I could come up with another answer. I could say, oh, well, it's Elijah Moore or it's Carl Lawson on defense. It's a quarterback-driven league. If Zach Wilson's Justin Herbert with the Jets defense, they're possibly contending for a playoff spot. Like it's Zach Wilson. I could tell you it's Robert Saleh because he's the head coach, but it's Zach Wilson. He's a rookie quarterback, right? You're going to have highs and lows throughout the year with a kid that's playing in the NFL for the first time. The key to the Jets to have success is Zach Wilson, because I think they're going to be a much improved football team regardless of, how Zach does. They can't be any worse, as we all know. But if Zach's really good and, the Jets defensive line is one of the best in the league, and all of a sudden you have a top 10 defense with an offense that's humming, you're going to be a really good football team. You're going to be a team that's going to be, in the mix for a playoff spot, right? I don't know if you'll win the division because Buffalo's still really good and all that, but you're going to be in the mix with 7 teams going to the playoffs in the AFC because of the extra wild card spot now. You're going to be in the mix. So, yeah, the key to the Jets having success this year and long-term, it's the quarterback, man. It's always the quarterback. You could have the greatest roster in the world, but if your quarterback is not good or your quarterback can't elevate, you're kind of stuck, right? I've seen this so many times in the NFL. The Minnesota Vikings had such a good roster over the last couple of years. They never took the next step. Why? Because Kirk Cousins is not that guy. The Las Vegas Raiders, good roster. They haven't been able to put it all together and take that next step. Why? Because Derek Carr is not that guy. Like, you could be a really good team, but if you don't have the franchise quarterback, you're limited with where you could go. You're going to hit your ceiling. And, that's why, long term, yeah, we want the Jets to have talent at every position, but ultimately, the only way you're going to have consistent success year in, year out is if you have a franchise quarterback. And for those new to the show or who have not heard me on the radio before, I will say my definition of a franchise quarterback would be this. No matter the circumstance, no matter the team you're facing, if you have a franchise quarterback, that guy will give you a chance in any game. Like, a franchise quarterback is a guy that no matter what's around him, for the most part, there are exceptions, no matter who you're playing, if you have the guy that you think is a franchise quarterback, that means you have a chance in that game. That's how I define a franchise quarterback. Like, no matter the circumstance, you have Tom Brady, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Aaron Rodgers, you have prime Drew Brees, you have a chance to win. That to me is a franchise quarterback, right? You have, I'm based here in Houston, and obviously we all know about Deshaun Watson and what's going on there. But Deshaun Watson to me was a franchise quarterback. Texans only won 4 games last year, but they lost so many games, by one score late because their Texans had the worst defense in the NFL last year, or one of them. Deshaun Watson led the NFL in passing. That's a franchise quarterback. The Texans were a bad team that somehow won 4 games because they had Deshaun Watson. That's a franchise quarterback, a guy that gives you a chance every single game. That is a franchise quarterback. So there you go. Animal Science. Thanks for the answers, Jake. It was fun. We will do it again. Yeah, I like the new format for this. So what I've been thinking is I'll do a video probably in the morning. I'll get up early, crank out a video, and then we'll do some Jets Q&A. We'll have guests on the channel as we always do. Looking forward to whatever the next game is for the Jets or whatever the next big storyline is. So I like the Q&A. Thanks to everyone who is engaged. Thanks to everyone who has written in questions here. This was a ton of fun. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor. Subscribe down below. If you already subscribed, like this video. Let's make this YouTube algorithm pop. as the kids say, right? I don't know if they say that at all. But anyhow, I'm on Twitter at Jake Asman, Instagram at Jake Asman. I am off to Texans training camp to watch Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills. Dead serious. I'm actually about to get in the car and drive to NRG Stadium right now. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll talk to you guys soon. And yeah, go Jets. Should be fun watching joint practice today and the game on Saturday. See you.